Alright everyone, welcome back to Cody's Lab. So, my last video was charcoaling a brain, which was actually a walnut, and a lot of people wanted to see me actually do a brain, so here we go. So this is a sheep brain, which has been preserved in alcohol. I'm just going to set it here on a dish of sand. I may regret that later. Cover it up. I'm going to see if I can let it dry out. It does have to be dried, otherwise it'll just make a huge mess. Ideally it would be freeze dried, but it's got alcohol, not water, so that might not work. So we'll just try this, and if it doesn't work, I've got a spare. So while that's drying out, I'm going to take this furnace apart and fix the coil. It burned up kind of counterintuitively because it was running in a reducing atmosphere. You can see there's a piece of the coil here. The furnace is made to run in an oxidizing atmosphere. It forms a protective oxide coating on the coil that keeps it from breaking down. But when I've got charcoal in there and the reducing gases that reduce it back to metal, it just causes it to break down faster. So at some point I'm going to have to figure out something else. But for now, I'm just going to replace the coil. Should be pretty straightforward to just pull this all apart here. Like that. Oh boy. Well, I've got it all back together. Let's see if it works. That's a good sign. You can hear the alternating current buzzing. Yeah, we see smoke. Well, good. So here's the brain. It seems to have dried out rather well. It's still a little bit squishy, but most of the fluid is now gone. So I'm gonna brush off the sand here, at least as much as I can. So there it is. Time to see if it'll charcoal. Just put it in the bottom of this can, get rid of that sand. Put this can over top of it. Cool. A little bit of something to burn up the excess oxygen. And I'm going to try to keep it out of the furnace this time. I'm going to minimize the amount of charcoal that goes in there. Last time I dumped a bunch of charcoal into the furnace. I think that's one of the reasons why the coil burned up, because I think I actually got some of the charcoal on the coil itself. Like I said, I'm going to have to find another way to charcoal things. This might be the last time I use this furnace for this. Now, some people were asking why I don't pack paper in here or something. Well, the reason for that is I have the charcoal, and really the oxygen absorbing capability of the charcoal is much more than any small amount of paper that I can pack in there. Plus it makes less smoke this way. Alright, so I think we're ready to go. I am actually going to turn the furnace on low as it'll go, for probably an hour or two, just to dry things out and finish drying the brain. And then once I think everything's pretty well dry, then I'll crank up the heat. So I see it's already turned off. It's only going to get to like 200 degrees in there Fahrenheit. What is that? Around 100 Celsius. When I crank it up, it'll go over 1,000 Celsius though. Ooh, warm. Should be done now. Everything's cooled off. Let's open it up. Uh-oh. Looks like that's all that's there. Not much. Yeah. Looks to me like it must have melted and then charred as a puddle. And that makes sense. Brains have a lot of fat, so the fat just melts. So there you go. Now you know what happens when you try to char a brain. I thought that might happen, which is why I ended up going with something more woody when I was making the thing for Simone. That, and probably be a bit weird to send an actual brain to someone you don't really know. Although for her it might go over well. I don't know. Anyway, a couple of things that I'd like to correct from my previous video. One, chitin, the shells of insects, is not a protein polymer, it is a carbohydrate. I saw the nitrogen in the molecule and I just assumed it was protein. But nope, that's not the case. Also, when I charred the woody material, I said that the sodium and calcium and those earth elements turn into carbonates, which is only true at low temperatures. At the temperatures that I'm getting to, it's definitely turning them to oxides, which over time will absorb water and CO2 from the air and form carbonates, but initially in the furnace. And also, don't worry guys, I'm not going to turn into some kind of will it burn channel. This is just some side project, and it just happened that a lot of them ended up close together. I'll spread them out more in the future. Now for something that I'm sure a lot of you are waiting for. Let's do a taste test. Kind of sulfury. I might spit this one out. Yeah, it tastes a lot like sodium metabisulfate. I'm sure not a lot of you have tasted that, but yeah. It might be sodium pyrosulfate. I'll have to do some research on what this would form. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. So I just had a great idea for the thumbnail. Oh, you can't see the flame. I need to find somewhere darker then. Alright, let's see if this works. Okay. It's going to be a little bit grainy because I had to turn the ISO up so high, but that should work. I got brain juice everywhere.